Maria!
Mr. President, we've received a report from the Central Information Agency. Our ground troops have successfully pushed back the black aliens from Westopolis. We've also managed to suppress enemy forces in 5 other cities. There's also reports that the CIA's mainframe has been compromised. We're investigating the incidents now. It is a strong possibility that this was also committed by the black aliens.
Tell the commanding generals that the United Federation will never surrender to terrorists.
Yes, Mr. President.
This planet was once saved from tyranny and annihilation by you 2 heroes. Now mankind must protect this peace at all costs. We must stand united to defend our world against these invaders.
Where am I? Isn't that Dr. Eggman? Maybe he can tell me about those black creatures.
Greetings, I'm Solidus-Skully and welcome back to the Season of the Spook, recorded out of sync with my personal timeline because of the fact that, well, yeah, I'm recording this months later after the other parts, obviously, because, well, you know, I plan things in advance. Or so you think. I'm actually just kind of doing this on the fly, to be perfectly honest. This is recorded months in advance after the other parts, actually, mostly due to the fact that the original file got corrupted, so, fuck it, I'm doing this months later, and this is post-DDLC review, so, yeah, I can probably give you an indication as to when this was recorded. In late July? But anyway, we're finally finishing off Shadow the Hedgehog. Cryptic Castle, one of my favourite stages in the game, actually, for reasons that you will, well, find out rather soon. And yes, I do mean rather soon, because this is a very lengthy part, because, the Dark Side mission is one that actually does give me a fair bit of trouble in terms of its location. Like, I mean, the Hero Side mission is just finding cream and cheese, which is rather easy, and the Neutral mission is your generic sort of get-to-the-goal ring mission that you find in so many other sort of Sonic stages. So, this one is a little bit more trickier. Again, you have a very limited amount of torches to light, and as Dr. Eggman is, you know, relaying here, yeah, just light the torches, preferably not like that, because you are a complete and total dumbass if you light them with, you know, your face. But yeah, grab a torch and, light them up. Which makes it sound like Shadow was smoking weed. But again, Shadow the Hedgehog does not smoke weed every day, because he is too respectful for that. Well, depending on the incarnation, because Sonic characterization is so all over the map that, well, quite frankly, you can pretty much interpret him to be anything, whether it's edgy, extreme, emo, or, you know, a legitimate lost soul on a stroll searching for purpose. It all goes nowadays, because, fuck, consistent characterization, or making characters likable. But yeah, as you can probably tell, well, as you will soon see, I did cut this down for time because of the fact that, well, you know, you probably don't want to see people wandering around too much, but, yeah, if you're doing the Dark Side mission, you really do need to know where you're going, which does kind of provide some criticisms about Shadow's level design being convoluted by proxy of the mission structure. Especially in terms of trying to get, you know, all the unlockable pathways, which, you know, there are 326, even though they are, realistically speaking, just slight variations of the 10 endings that you can get in the game. But ultimately speaking, though, you know, it's not one that I think is necessarily too bad. It's just more of a factor of knowing where to go, and again, if you have practiced the Dark Side mission, well then, generally speaking, you should know where to go. So, again, maybe it's just me, because I don't usually take this pathway very much. Mostly for reasons that, as you will see by the end of the commentary, and as I will probably explain during the credits, yeah, it's not a very satisfying dark pathway, because we are, indeed, in the darkest timeline, in the darkest path, where we must face against our human masters, broken by our memories playing tricks on us. Because that is ultimately part of the reason why I did decide to call this the hallucination timeline. The hallucination timeline in which, well, things weren't as picturesque as they seem, and Shadow the Hedgehog decided to rebel against his human masters and destroy the human race. in favor of the Black Arms, because apparently Black Doom had a point, I guess. And again, in terms of things that I do like about this level, you know, running some of the, you know, I forgot the name of the creatures, but yeah, you just get a very picturesque view of Cryptic Castle, which, again, when it comes to comparing, you know, the visuals and graphics of Sonic Heroes compared to Shadow the Hedgehog, yeah, this is part of the reason why I give Shadow the Hedgehog the benefit of the doubt compared to Heroes, because in terms of artistic beauty, this one does have a much more definite style about itself, whereas, you know, Sonic Heroes was definitely crimping more towards, you know, the Mega Drive sort of, you know, classic cartoonish sort of style, mixed in with a grid of, you know, games like Sonic Adventure and Adventure 2. I mean, don't get me wrong, I do appreciate Sonic Heroes' art style, but I think by comparison, Shadow the Hedgehog definitely has the much grittier and, honestly, the much more appealing art style. I will admit, though, that the Renderware Engine 2 was probably not the engine to go to in terms of this sort of thing, because, well, it tends to make a lot of the grittier visuals more murky, but I mostly attribute that down to, you know, PS2 production values, because, well, I mean, in this case, and especially noticeable considering games like Devil May Cry 2, which do also have a very good art style, but is kind of marred by, you know, subpar visuals. Yeah, seeing things like this really does kind of showcase the limitations of the era, which is more noticeable now than it was back then, because, I mean, back in 2005, I didn't really notice a lot of the graphical shortcomings, mainly because, well, back then, this was generally all there was, unless, of course, you played a game with, you know, much better graphics. Then again, I mean, considering 2005, what exactly did you have, really? I mean, I guess maybe some of the Final Fantasy games and Silent Hill 3? Again, not really much, but generally speaking, Shadow's art style is one that I do still behold as being decent, because, again, it does want to showcase the destruction and, well, generally, the harsh reality in which Shadow lives in, you know, in terms of also reflecting the destruction of the Black Arms. And yeah, you might probably be wondering why I'm running face first into the torches right there. That's mostly because of the fact that the hitbox is a little bit finicky. Like, I mean, you can jump and press the square button and generally light up the torches, but yeah, the hitbox for the larger ones is a little bit finicky, so yeah, bit of a pain in the ass, so I just decided that it's probably best to just take the hit and go for it, especially considering Shadow's, you know, ring structure, which is, you know, you lose only a set amount of rings, but not the full amount, which would be for pretty much every other Sonic game, which is a system that I'm kind of surprised they didn't stick with. I mean, yes, it does give you invincibility frames, but at the same time, it does kind of make collecting rings worth a shit. Because, I mean, in games like, say, Generations and all that sort of stuff where you can only really use them to buy, like, you know, certain items or whatever, or, you know, actually, I don't even think Forces really uses them for anything at all, so that kind of makes the mass amount of rings you collect in that game a little bit pointless. And likewise for Sonic Lost World, because that game is shit! But anyway, I'm just sort of rambling here. Again, the general thing is that, and I'm trying to remember as well, because I think even Sonic Unleashed to a certain extent, I think mainly for the Werehog portion, did also keep Shadow's ring structure. I don't know, kind of a shame they didn't stick with it for the rest of the series, but yeah, what can you do? Also something I want to comment on, actually, I really do love the music for this place. Not quite as good as, you know, Mystic Mansion and Sonic Heroes, but I don't know, there's something about Cryptic Castle that really does hold a nice sense of ambience about it. I think it's really to do with the lighting and just sort of the general images that they use for the background of the area, you know, with the moon and the dark red skies. I don't know, it really gave this game a very unique visual style that I can't help but love, man. And here we find the Lost Chow Garden. Well, I mean, I say that, but I mean, considering the fact that I think Knight's Journey... was it Journey of Dreams, or was it... Yeah, I think it was Journey of Dreams, the latest Knight's game that was out at the time. Yeah, considering that that was the last time we ever really saw a Chow Garden in concept, yeah, Shadow the Hedgehog is the last vestige of it. Although that being said, I do hear that they are apparently trademarking Knight's Dream Wheel, which, again, I mean, when this gets uploaded, we'll probably have a little bit more details on it, but yeah, hopefully Knight's Dream Wheel does lead into a new Knights game, because that would be interesting. And hopefully it isn't Nintendo exclusive, because I will fucking cry, because I don't understand why Knight's Journey of Dreams was, you know, Wii exclusive, because, you know, the Nintendo Wii was fresh and new and exciting. When really, I think all games should be released for all consoles, because you shouldn't exclude one, you know, set of people who bought one console out of an exclusive, which... I guess it's sort of a catch-22, you know, you make exclusives worth playing so you can actually pick up the console and give people a reason to play it, or at least that's how it was during the PS2 era. But now it's generally just sort of a holdover of a bygone age, I guess. I don't know. Just something to think about, really. Excuse me. And yeah, this is where the edit happened. I mean, we've already got all 4 torches, but we need to teleport back, and basically this will lead you to where you need to go. Again, admittedly, I probably could have done a better job of showing you all the way there, but I kind of felt like that was a bit tedious, and considering the fact that, well, again, I kind of want to get a move on with this commentary, because I really need to start recording the Doom 3 Resurrection of Evil commentaries. Yeah, I thought I'd give you an idea as to when this was recorded. But again, as I said before, look at this imagery on display. The Gothic temples, the flames, the just general ambience of this place is fucking beautiful, man. Not to mention the fact that you get a sweeping view, and again, it's this sort of thing which does kind of meld together the Sonic Heroes, you know, purity of the gameplay aspect with Sonic Adventure's more set-piece-driven gameplay, which, again, I genuinely really like. It's just because of the fact that I think a lot of people's perceptions as to, oh no, dark and edgy Sonic, which is really what prevented people from finding this really cool unity between the 2 gameplay styles. I don't know. Something that I guess not a lot of people really saw potential in, but hey, whatever. E for excellent. Thank you very much, Shadow the Hedgehog.
Another Chaos Emerald.
What are you doing here, Shadow?
Doctor, I don't want to fight with you, but I need those Chaos Emeralds. They hold the secret to my...
Enough of this nonsense! The Chaos Emeralds belong to me! All of them! No one gets in my way. Those who do will be destroyed. So stand clear or I will crush you! Just as I will those black creatures.
Okay, so now we have the Egg Breaker for the 3rd and final time. I can't remember if I showed off this boss fight in any of the commentary, so I do apologize. But for the sake of, you know, actually showing off a lot of things in this game, I will, you know, show off the last Egg Breaker boss fight, because this is the last time we're going to be facing him. And it was something that I'm not sure if I mentioned last time, so I apologize for any redundancies in this little segment, but yeah, the Egg Breaker does have different attacks depending on which stage you fight him in. As you could probably tell in the earlier Matrix stages, you could face him with, like, a certain, like, null gravity sort of attack. Whereas here, he just shoots his mace, and basically you have to go to town on him with, you know, guns and, or regular attacks. I've never really done it with regular attacks because, well, that's kind of a bit slow. You can do it, though, which is why I'm appreciative for the option, but, you know, this does incentivize you to use guns without, you know, forcing you to, which is boss design that I think is much appreciated. But again, the Egg Breaker is really no threat, because, you know, you can take him out easily with weaponry. That being said, though, he can kind of get the better of you very easily, so be on your guard, but, you know, always keep moving around and shooting. And always be sure to kick some ass.
Sorry, Doctor, but that chaos...
But alas, now we say farewell to Cryptic Castle while Amy does the, jazz hands? That's a very weird victory pose, but hey, whatever. Shadow thinks it's perfect.
Mr. President, there's an emergency.
What now?
It seems as if our ground forces have been able to contain the Black Arms. But apparently enemy reinforcements have arrived, and Central City is being invaded.
How? How can this be?
Shadow, let me share with you a piece of your past. It's filled with nothing but hatred and contempt for the humans.
Hatred and contempt for the humans.
You were the ultimate life form, but the humans feared you and wanted to destroy you. And they did. Now, you must amass revenge on those humans. Unleash your anger and ultimate powers on them.
And so we get to one of my favourite stages in the game, Central City, a section that reuses a lot of Westopolis' aspects. Well, I mean, assets? Sorry, I don't know why I said that. But, yeah, one that I do think is genuinely fun to play on the dark side mission, because it gives you a couple of bombs to search through while, you know, giving you a general nice overview of the city. And again, me being the general sucker for city environments that I am, yeah, I can't help but enjoy this level. Anyway, unlike the hero mission, which requires you to suck up all the bombs using one of the vacuum guns, this one requires you to blow them up, which gives you a nice satisfying explosion. Unfortunately, this does require you to ignore Knuckles, which, you know, being my favourite Sonic character, has very tragic, because, you know, he's not only ignored by Shadow here, he's also ignored by the developers at large for having a very deep and complex backstory. But I'll save my bitterness for later, for a certain retrospective that will be coming, I don't know, in about like 2 years or so, because I don't really know how I feel at the moment, especially in regards to this franchise, because it tears me in half so much. But anyway, now is not the time for sadness, now is the time for excitement and energy, because now we must destroy the bombs. And generally speaking, why I do prefer the Dark Side mission here as opposed to the Hero mission is that the bombs in the Hero section are much smaller, yes, but they do have a tendency to explode when they get close, as you can see. Well, as you could possibly see right there. It happens if you stand right next to them, because you'll have one of those orbital lasers come down and destroy them, which, you know, isn't too fun, because you have to hunt down for another one of the bombs. Which I do believe spawn, so you don't have to worry about, you know, not getting all 22 of the bombs, I think. It was 22 or maybe a little bit less. But whatever the case, this is a much easier mission, and one that's much more fun in my opinion. Except for this, you basically have to wait for the enemies to drop down and destroy them. Then again, not necessarily that bad, unless of course you're one of those people who criticize DMC2 because, oh, shooting guns, oh god, that's so boring, I press a button in a video game and it destroys things. How utterly fucking dull, I might as well be pressing the start button to win. Again, it's part of the reason why I don't necessarily look down on the gunplay in Shadow, because, I mean, you can play it, generally speaking, with a very stop-go mentality. And, like, I mean, if you're the sort of person that enjoys the swordplay in Sonic and the Black Knight, but then you know, criticizes the gunplay of Shadow the Hedgehog for being stop-go, yeah, you have no right to complain, so shut the fuck up before I fucking break your jaw, bitch. That's a little bit harsh, I apologize for that. A little bit antsy tonight, I'm not really feeling the best. So, yeah, I do apologize for that. That was spoken out of tongue. Needless to say, the whipping boy has been thoroughly whipped. Hiya, 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 whatcha. And again, we also find another use for the vehicles in a surprising turn of events, considering how many people criticize them. You can use them for traversing the pits of acid, which, again, gives the vehicles a second use. It's almost as if the developers put them there with a specific purpose. Well, wally me. What are the fucking chances that Sonic Team actually put some forethought into them, instead of forcing them on the player like a stupid gimmick like Wisps, or, you know, fucking cookies and flying Care Bear Donut Land, or whatever. But again, that's enough negativity from me. Now for positivity. In terms of level design, this level is much more sprawling, but at the same time it also is very compact. To a certain extent. It gives you plenty of opportunities to know where the bombs are, to suck them up, or to destroy them. And at the same time, it also offers you a lot of chances for chaos control, because, I mean, if you put out the fires, as I mentioned ages ago back in the early parts of the commentary, yeah, that increases the hero gauge, which you can use to warp around the level. And even then, like, I mean, the more checkpoints you activate, the more you can warp around the level, so, again, you do have a very feasible way of fast traveling around the area. I mean, that being said, this level doesn't really lend itself to speed that much, which, well, I mean, again, the entire game's been like this at this point, so, I mean, if you're expecting traditional Sonic gameplay, then obviously you're going to be left very disappointed, which I can understand to a certain extent, but then again, if the first level establishes what the game is going to be, you can't exactly be berating the game for what it isn't. Well, I mean, then again, that is a very tumultuous situation that in terms of criticism, I have been in myself for judging a game by what it's not rather than what it is. It's tumultuous, and then it's something that I think probably warrants its own video to really be explored in, although then again I don't think I'm really smart enough to dissect what that exactly is. But then again, I might bring that up in a video as like an off-the-cuff remark in a review or something. But anyway, the point is, the last bomb is over there, and I don't really know, I think I'm probably trying to look for another weapon, or at least to get more ammunition, because yeah, some of the bombs do take quite a bit of ammo to really get them finished off. Oh, then again, there is also the dark and, you know, light side score to worry about, which, you know, in terms of how much dark score you have, that can, you know, contribute to you getting an A rank, and vice versa, you know, you getting hero score will essentially get you an E rank. Which is very interesting, and something that I do wish was kind of put to much greater effect. But sadly, the game doesn't really have any sort of distinction between that and, well, a lot of other mechanics in the game, which is something that I do plan to talk about in a future review. But enjoy the cutscene.
So, you finally come to realize just how abominable these humans are. It's time to make all final preparations for our ritual. Hidden inside that space colony ark is the most powerful weapon, able to pierce stars. The Eclipse Cannon.
Piercing the stars.
That's right. The 7 Chaos Emeralds are needed to demonstrate its full power, or tomorrow's prosperity ritual will all be for nothing.
Prosperity ritual? Tomorrow?
Now, go! What fools. Humans created the Eclipse Cannon to protect themselves from terror. Instead, it will be used to destroy mankind.
So yeah, Shadow seems to be allying with Black Doom now, completely and fully, after realizing the worthlessness of the human species. And I mean, while I don't exactly like the storyline as much as I do the semi-hero storyline, I can agree that this one does have a decent amount of build-up put behind it, and, well, I mean, if you did want an evil Shadow, this definitely is the pathway for you. Again, when it comes to the ending of this game, I will probably talk about why it doesn't quite work as well as I think it should have, because, well, I mean, considering some other games that I played, like Knights of the Old Republic and, well, the Infamous games being a prime example of how to do evil endings well, yeah, this game doesn't quite pull it off as well as I think it should. But that'll all be saved for later, because now it's time to talk about a rather underrated level in this game, the Ark. One that is very exclusive to this pathway. Well, I mean, I guess the sole exception being... I don't think it was Cosmic Fall, I'm trying to remember. I think it was... the one that was derivative of an SA2 level. I can't quite remember the name of it. It'll come to me eventually. But yeah, we get to ride around these flying creatures, shoot around, and... Again, it can be seen as more of a gimmick level, but unlike something like, say, Sly Raccoon, where it distracted from the core gameplay, this is something that was introduced relatively early on, depending on the pathway you took, so... You know, I think, you know, some of the dragon riding levels, which I'm going to call them for the sake that I can't quite remember what the creatures' names are, yeah, I think they fit in quite well with the gameplay. And I mean, not to mention that, but I mean, you also, as I mentioned before, get a sweeping view of the area, which, again, allows you to get a nice view of the Ark in a way that Sonic Adventure 2 never really achieved. I mean, granted, Sonic Adventure 2 was also backed up by, you know, excellent story momentum and characterization that was really hyping up the emotions of what you felt during, you know, the final stages of that game. But here you really do get a sort of oncoming dread, so to speak. And I think especially as you power through the Space Colony Ark's defenses using, you know, the dragon creature here, it really does help to sell the threat that, you know, the Black Arms are coming and they're here to seize control of the power that they believe they were owed, which, again, as you probably know from the storyline, as, you know, Joel Robotnik had promised Black Doom centuries ago, well, not centuries, I mean, 50 years ago, yeah, that is indeed the case. They are coming to reclaim what's theirs. Not just in terms of the Chaos Emeralds, but in terms of the Earth, because, yeah, they want to feed on the human species, and Anthro species, which opens up a convoluted plot point within itself, considering recent sources of information regarding the series canon, throwing this into Dimension territory, because who gives a fuck about canon, apparently? Oh dear, I'm getting too negative again. Think positive. Happy thoughts, happy thoughts, happy thoughts. I say as I strangle myself to death, hanging from a noose. But yeah, again, it's a very basic level, I will admit, but again, if you like shooting things, this level is for you, and it does deliver on a certain spectacle, which I can't help but appreciate. That being said, though, you do also have to manage your creature's health bar, which, yeah, if you get caught behind those shields, can be quite easily taken care of very easily, so watch your back. But that being said, you know, the gold-plated creatures, comparatively to the regular versions, yeah, they have the ability to shoot weapons, which, you know, saves on ammunition in your own right. And in turn, you know, I don't know. It's just a nice little feature that helps save on weaponry. Again, I think it is very easy if you're very careless with your creature, like, I mean, if you're just kind of treating this as your average... similar to the glider sections from Sonic 06, actually, where you can literally just steamroll through everything and complete the stage without even moving forward on the controller. But then again, that was a buggy and broken game, whereas Shadow is reasonably okay? I mean, now that I think about it, I can't really recall any sort of major glitches I've had with Shadow the Hedgehog over my years of playing it. And, keep in mind, this is with the PS2 version, so, yeah. But alas, the Ark's defenses have been destroyed. And now the humans are now one step closer to defeat, as we slowly corrupt them from within, their own weapon thought to protect them from the threats across the stars. B for badass.
Arc to headquarters! Arc to headquarters! Come in! Come in! Shadow's penetrated the Arc! He's headed toward the control room of the Eclipse Cannon!
Come in, Eclipse Cannon! He must be stopped at all costs! Take him out! That's an order!
10-4, copy that!
So, the Blue Falcon, reference to F-Zero GX, I think, because Sega also co-created that game alongside Nintendo, which was in fact the last F-Zero game ever released, so, yeah, think of that what you will. A cute little reference nonetheless. In fact, I think even Black Bull was meant to be a reference to one of them. I'm not entirely sure, though. I'm not a Nintendo fan, because I don't give a shit about most of the franchises, to be honest. Anyway, this is pretty much the same thing as... I can't remember what the other one was called. Again, it's pretty much the same as the other one. It has the particle beam cannon, it has missiles, it has other sorts of weapons. Generally, stay away from its particle beam cannon, destroy a lot of the missiles that it shoots out, which you can in turn use as weapons to shoot against it. And bada bing, you do the thing, and it will be destroyed in due time. Again, I will say that this is a little bit more dynamic because you have, well, for one thing, a little bit more visual spectacle with the Earth down beneath you, and the fact that this one actually takes place in the present rather than the past, as was seen with the previous boss fight in this style. And, well, in turn, like, I mean, it does kind of show the dire stakes in which the humans are facing right now. Like, I mean, while the Gun Commander, I do agree, is generally very Anne Cunningham in his behavior of go out and die for your country because, grr, I hate you, Shadow. Yeah, it does kind of sell the threat that go out and die for your planet because if you don't succeed, this world is doomed because of the Black Arms. And again, like, I mean, while Shadow the Hedgehog doesn't really capitalize on this sort of, you know, stakes as much as it should, in its own way, it is still trying, and that's, you know, generally what I appreciate, that sort of conviction to telling its story, even if it doesn't always succeed. And again, I don't know, it's generally something that makes me smile whenever video games try to, you know, intertwine story and gameplay like this, just to showcase the threats, because, yeah, this man is going to die because he explodes, he burns up in the atmosphere, and despite some later lines indicating that most of the humans were evacuated from the safe zones, you know, during the Central City attack, yeah, as you can see here, this motherfucker is indeed dead. Fare thee well, human. This is what you wanted, right? This is the promise that I made to you. Oh, and I just noticed, actually, this is the same hallway in which the semi-hero storyline conversation happens between Shadow and the Gun Commander. That's pretty cool.
We are the Black Arms. We are here to take rule of this planet. Any attempts to resist are futile and will result in death. You humans are so pathetic.
Damn you.
As of today, this planet is mine.
You're crazy. We will not.
Now, we will begin to exterminate all of the world's leaders who resist.
What?
Annihilation for this planet is near. It is time to embrace the dawn of your demise and despair.
Sir, are you all right?
Never mind me. What about the people of Central City?
No need to worry, sir. Orders were issued yesterday, and everyone has been evacuated to the safe zone.
Very good, Commander.
Now what's going on?
Commander! The invaders! Estimated over 1,000 black aliens inbound! They've penetrated our outer perimeter!
What?
According to reports, Shadow's also been sighted with the black aliens.
Shadow? I don't believe it. So he's finally decided to show himself. Attention all command units! Mobilize all mech battle sections! Prepare all weapons to strike incoming vessels! Mobilize Diablon!
But sir, it's not ready yet!
I don't care! We have no other option! We must protect the President and the Chaos Emeralds at all costs!
Yes, sir!
Shadow, damn you! It's been 50 years. Justice will finally be served!
Shadow, I'm counting on you!
I know, Professor. The ultimate life form born to ensure peace and justice amongst all of mankind. Now, I know what I have to do.
Well, we made it, dudes and dudettes. The last stand of the human race. Will it go out with a bang, or a whimper? We shall find out now. Instantly, can I just say that I really love the previous piece seen in the last cutscene with Shadow reflecting on Gerald Robotnik's musings. Again, it is very much twisting his words, which is very dark in its own way. But again, I really do like that somber piece, you know. I guess it does kind of reflect Gerald's insane ramblings about how the human species did not deserve, you know, saving. Especially considering what happened to him, and in a way, I very much like that scene for echoing his own sentiments after being tormented by the humans day in, day out, which in many ways could also be Shadow reflecting on his own trauma after finally sorting out his issues and siding with Black Arms good and proper. I mean, granted, the story really could have been much better built up to reflect this, but again, from a conceptual standpoint, and again, me being somebody who really loves to see conceptual potential, again, I really do love this scene. And so too do I also love this level in particular, because, again, both in terms of the musical track and in terms of thematics, this is humanity's last stand and is a good, well, I mean, you probably can't hear it over my waffling commentary, but as you can hear with, you know, the somber guitars really, you know, emanating throughout the final level, yeah, it shows that humanity's last stand is not one that goes out with a bang or a final epic, you know, shout of fuck yeah and semper fi. It instead goes quietly. In fact, I'm actually kind of reminded of one of the, I think it was one of the audio logs voiced by Tamura Morrison from the Star Wars Battlefront 2 game, like, which was based on the raid of the Jedi Temple, which explains that nobody dared voice a word about their, you know, betrayal of their Jedi Masters, because, you know, Order 66 and everything. And that's honestly what this musical track makes me think of. You know, something very somber and, well, the fact that they're eliminating people that were otherwise working, you know, for the forces of good. Or at least, relatively speaking, of course. I mean, Doom tries to make a case of how humans are selfish and suck and everything, but mainly by proxy of Takashi Iizuka's own very scatterbrained, unsubtle lack of writing ability, it does kind of muddy up the message a little bit. But I mean, you know, to give credit where it's due, I do at least appreciate the attempt. I mean, Black Doom is certainly much better of a villain than most of the other Sonic villains we've had for the past... Fuck, I mean, for the past 10 years... Well, the past 9 to 10 years, actually. And it fucking pains me to say that. But alas, this is the world we live in. As for what we're doing here, we're basically destroying, well, the last of these little nodes here. Very Ratchet and Clank-esque, actually. In fact, I mean, Shadow the Hedgehog does have multiplayer capabilities, which you can play as, like, different, you know, versions of Shadow. Kind of wish you could have played as the other Sonic characters, but that's neither here nor there in this case. Yeah, kind of wish that took a little bit more from Ratchet and Clank as the game was initially going to in terms of its control scheme. Like, mostly in terms of, you know, having those sort of, you know, capture the flag, you know, obtain the sort of base and destroy the enemy command center sort of missions that Ratchet and Clank 3 had. Yeah, because, I mean, again, probably couldn't really think about it now, because, you know, it's been nearly 20 years since the game was released, but yeah, man, that's what I spent a majority of my childhood on, and, you know, those are fucking lit, man. Well, I say lit, but I should say fucking radical, dude. Yeah, that isn't exactly my forte. I'll stick to radical, because it sounds more natural, and rolls off my tongue quite sweetly. This is a very lengthy level, and definitely fitting, considering that it is the final stretch of the game, and is most definitely very fitting, especially if you play the hero mission, where you do get to see the full extent of the base, comparatively to the dark side mission, where you're just destroying the command nodes. Because, I mean, even outside, you can see, like, a lot of the, like, the air fleet mission, like, the same sort of command set that they use. I can't quite remember what the thing was called. It's one of the aircraft carriers, and I do legitimately mean that, because it does float up in the air. I lament to use S.H.I.E.L.D.'s helicarrier as an example, but that's the closest comparison that I have. I think. I don't really follow, like, Marvel shit, whatever, that closely. Besides, you know, Ghost Rider or Punisher stuff. But regardless of such, though, again, it does go to show that this really is humanity's last hope because of the fact that their limited resources are very much presented to you. Like, I mean, you can see cars scattered about, you see soldiers, you know, dotted about everywhere. I think this honestly would have been sold a little bit more if you saw, like, maybe some civilians running about the place. Like, you know, people running in fear of Shadow and the Black Arms. Again, probably a little bit too dark, and possibly something that you could have included in the, like, the T for teen rating that this game was initially meant to have, but I don't know. Something that would have added an extra layer of spice just to show that, yeah, this is the loss of humanity, and yes, well, they're pretty much fucked. You see, that's the thing about Shadow the Hedgehog that does disappoint me and also excite me the most, is that it's the game that was willing to go for it, but at the same time held back at the last minute, which really does undercut some of what it was trying to do. And again, considering the reception to this game and, you know, dark and extreme Sonic games as a whole, it's probably likely that we're never going to see this game in this sort of style again. Which, you know, is lamentable, but I can completely understand a lot of people's criticisms, even though I think a lot of it was directed in the wrong place. And I think also nostalgia does sort of play a factor into that, considering that, I mean, understandably so at this time, a lot of people were missing a lot of classic Sonic nostalgia, since, you know, the classic variants of characters haven't been seen since, like, I think about, like, almost 8 years by that point. I don't know. Excuse me for a second. Okay, just had to adjust my microphone. It is very tricky to talk about because, I mean, it is a very precarious position and a very much a boy who cried wolf situation because, you know, the Sonic series wanted to move forward, but, you know, some people did miss the classic Sonic aesthetic, which, you know, a lot of people can understand, but someone who was like me who grew up in this era, you know, seeing games like this, I really would have liked to have seen it improved upon. I don't know. I don't even know what I'm saying anymore, it's just filler commentary for filler commentary's sake while I carefully jumble together my thoughts after ingesting a lot of alcohol, because I want to get this finished in one night, so that might explain why I might be a little bit more aggressive during this commentary. Again, I do apologize if I am a little bit snarky during this commentary, it's just that, I don't know, anger is a problem that's ongoing for me, and I will sort it out through calm, serene ramblings and talking about things that I enjoy, like this, no matter how many dark thoughts pierce my mind, like Pyramid Head's great knife through Maria's fleshy carcass. But anyway, in terms of anything else to describe about the level, again, I think it really does do well to showcase the decay in terms of level aesthetics. Like, I mean, you can see the electricity, which is probably used, like, you know, in terms of their ground troops, you know, from getting across. But at the same time, you know, you also have the dingy decay of this building, which shows that it's probably been standing for a very long time, so this was humanity's last chance at, you know, survival. I don't know, there's something about Shadow's grungy art aesthetic that really does appeal to me. The graphics might not sell it that much, but again, I think it works, man. Anyway, this is the last node. I don't really know what to call it for the lack of a better term, but yeah, after this is done, the humans are completely defenseless. And now the humans shall suffer. Well done, Shadow.
At last, the human resistance has been crushed. Perfect. Get out of my way.
Shadow, I can't let you go. Not like this.
You're the one who destroyed the Ark and killed everyone on it. It's time to settle this once and for all.
Right. I know what I have to do. I was born to bring order to the humans. These humans, they don't value life. They're going to pay. Pay with their lives for what they've done.
You?
Sonic, if you try to stop me, I'll destroy you too.
Well, get comfy, dudes and dudettes. We're at the final stop. This is the last trip. Dun 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 dun. Yes, this is Diablon and Sonic. I really like how they just sort of add Sonic as like a sort of side boss when, realistically speaking, Sonic should have been the final boss, whereas Diablon should have been the side threat. In a much better game, maybe, but yeah, pull up a stump because this boss fight takes fucking forever and is by far the absolute worst boss fight in the game. I saved this for last because this is something that you can also fight in the semi-dark pathway, but... and also the hero pathway, I think, as well. But yes, you basically have to make do with destroying Diablon, waiting for its shield to go down once it charges its weapon, and just doing pot shot damage until its shield goes down, and then you can attack it a little bit more, but then again, that's not really saying much because the boss still takes fucking forever. Again, if they took away the shield, I think this boss fight would be a lot more tolerable, and its boss design that is kind of reminiscent of the infested chopper from Devil May Cry 2, where, again, while you can still move around and dodge its attacks, again, it's nowhere near active enough for you to really feel involved in the boss fight, and at the same time, it's also nothing where you can really have the advantage and cheese the boss fight if you know a certain strategy that can defeat it easier. Again, I use Devil May Cry 2 as an example for poor boss design, but I mean, while I do generally like that game, and some of its bosses besides certain ones that I will mention if I ever get to talking about that game, I think Diablon in this case is just... it's a waiting game, which to me is honestly some of the worst things you can have about a boss fight. Like, I mean, there are some that can do it well, like I think Crash Bandicoot 2 with the engine boss fight, where you shoot Wumpa Fruit towards certain parts of its body, is a decent way to handle it in terms of, you know, the waiting to actually getting to hit and you know, do damage to the boss ratio. But here it's basically just attack it, wait for it to fuck off, wait for it to use its particle beam cannon, and use Sonic as basically a glorified platform. I don't know, I mean, I kind of think that Sonic should have been reserved as his own sort of boss fight. Perhaps in a similar echo to Sonic Adventure 2, where it had this sort of race between Sonic and Shadow, except perhaps maybe with Sonic using some Chaos powers of his own, like, you know, Sonic Wind, using Chaos Control of his own, like, I guess maybe in a similar fashion to, say, Quicksilver from Devil May Cry 3, you know, which slows Shadow down while Sonic can do some damage to you, while Shadow also has plenty of tools of his own to counteract the Chaos Control and use some attacks of his own. I don't know. Ideas that I think probably could have been better work in a better... could have been put to work in a better programmed game. But yeah, conceptually speaking, this boss is really just the pits. And yes, the Gun Commander will repetitively say those same clips. Oh shit, he's saying the same clip over and over again. Gotta make a meme! Hold still, you devil! Kinda surprised that didn't actually become a meme, because apparently Sonic Media can make clips out of anything, like... it's no use. Loading screen. Shit. Shadow has a gun. Damn, damn, damn. I don't know. It is very easy to boil the Gun Commander's character down to a very simplified version of who he is, but at the same time, though, and one thing that I don't think I really did point out enough during my own commentary of the previous parts is that he does have some moments, like when he's commending his soldiers, or, you know, especially in this pathway, where his actions are somewhat justified by the threat, is that, you know, he really does feel genuinely supportive of people like the President or, you know, his soldiers under his command when they do genuinely do a good job. You know, he commends them for a good job, and he is angry for Shadow, but, you know, both in part due to his past and here because of his actions, which, you know, is a way of endearing me to the character, but it doesn't entirely work considering certain circumstances, because, I mean, Shadow in Adventure 2, okay, that was justified, but he did redeem himself by the end. Sonic Heroes, he had no memory of what he'd done, so he wasn't really responsible for that. And especially if you choose the canon pathway here, or at least what I choose to believe is a canon pathway with a semi-hero storyline, yeah, it isn't exactly justified, and that's part of the reason why I prefer the semi-hero storyline, because, you know, Shadow does go to show the gun commander that while he doesn't know all the pieces of the puzzle yet, he is willing to find things out and, you know, convince him that, okay, he's on the level, and until he figures things out, he'll turn himself in or surrender to death. You know, actually taking fucking responsibility for his actions. Shock of all fucking shocks. But apparently resolving one's guilt and just being out of the edge, the character is all that people care about nowadays. Oh my god, this boss fight still isn't fucking over, Jesus Christ. Yeah, don't expect to get any sort of A ranks on this boss fight because it's a bit of a pain in the ass. If there is a way to do it, I don't really know how. I guess maybe it's possibly using some of the missile weapons, which you can get around here as well. But aside from that, I don't really know. But again, as I said, this is just a waiting game. It's not necessarily challenging, it's not necessarily easy by any stretch of the imagination, it's just time-consuming. I do think the second phase of this fight should have been taking away the shield, and, you know, that way being able to steamroll or, you know, skillfully, you know, take on the fight at your leisure. I don't know, it's just part of this game's bosses. Again, this is really the only boss that does this. Like, I mean, Black Doom might take a while, but you can use the guns to easily whittle down his health. I mean, Eggman, despite how the Egg Dealer might seem like a bit of a stupid boss in concept, even though, you know, considering the context of his shadow robots, it's kind of fine, all things considered. Yeah, this is the one boss fight that shits the bed, but I mean, apart from that, it's okay.
Mere humans cannot stop me. Finally, I've got all the Chaos Emeralds. Shadow, what are you gonna do with them? I'm Shadow, the Hedgehog. I was created to bring order and justice to the humans. With the power of these emeralds, I'm going to destroy this damn planet. This is who I am.
And thus, we now get to the other reason why I bothered to do the other story pathways. So I could hear this ending credit song, because Power Man 5000 is fucking awesome. Well, I mean, a lot of people don't generally like this song, but, again, while I will admit it is one of Power Man 5000's lesser songs in terms of their overall material, there is a guitar solo that I think is absolutely fucking radical, dudes. But anyway, dudes and dudettes, that was the Dark Side Pathway. One that I do think is genuinely okay, depending on its execution. For me, what kind of shoots in the arse is mainly the ending of it, because, I mean, again, you do get the general sort of Shadow the Hedgehog, I'm gonna conquer the universe, so I'm gonna destroy this damn planet, mustache-twirling villain sort of shit. But again, I mean, unlike something like, say, Infamous or Knights of the Old Republic, where you genuinely do get to revel in your victory as, you know, Darth Revan or Cole, you know, turn to the dark side, Shadow the Hedgehog doesn't really do that, it just sort of cuts away, and that might be due to the fact that it isn't the canon storyline to this game. But at the same time, though, I think a credit sequence where, you know, you see Shadow lording over the Earth with Black Doom would have been beneficial. I don't know. It's something that I do think would have made the ending go down a lot smoother, and, you know, also something which could have also led to a potential Eggman ending, which I don't think is something I necessarily brought up during the commentary, but I mean, during the neutral storyline, I do kind of wish he had the potential to align with Dr. Eggman as a whole. You know, just so you could have the Eggman Empire reign over Earth and finally have that ending which so many have possibly been waiting for since 1991. But a dying dream, I suppose. Anyway, this is indeed the final part of Shadow the Hedgehog. Again, I've given my thoughts on the overall game back in part 4 of the commentary, and as far as the hallucination timeline has gone, I do hope you did enjoy this little addition to the Season of the Spook. But, yeah, Shadow the Hedgehog, the darkest timeline for the darkest season of the year. And now we get the drop, which is absolutely fucking radical. I'm serious, this is this part of the song which really does justify its existence to me. I love this, man, it's so fucking sweet. Oh my god, that guitar solo, man, that is fucking delicious. Oh, that is fucking tasty. Anyway, now that the slot is free, because there was only 3 parts of this, albeit an hour long in length, yeah, taking the spot from now on will be Resident Evil 2 for Claire's scenario, because, well, there's a lot to this game, and I could probably cover that game a lot more succinctly, you know, now that Shadow the Hedgehog has freed up some space. Or if not that, then I will possibly be also including Doom 3 Resurrection of Evil, which I'm probably going to be recording right after this, actually, so... yeah, I guess with all that in mind, I'm Solidus-Skully, keep it new metal, and, well, enjoy the rest of the season of the Spook. I'll catch you next time, dudes. And dudettes. Really gonna forget to adding that. But yeah, catch you later, dudes and dudettes.